I'm John Gogliettino.
I am Region Council.
I'm Bobo Potsner.
I'm Risa Minikin.
And I'm Doris Hanley. Welcome to 30 Minutes.
Welcome to 30 Minutes. My name is John Gogliettino, and I'm your host. We're going to be doing some more election interviews with this. Today, we're going to be talking to the members of the candidates from this second ward. One is the incumbent, Holly Robinson, and the other one is John Laughinghouse, who's running for his first term. So without further ado, we're going to have them come on. And they're going to be talking a little bit about themselves as to how they got in the position of being a council person and also wanting to run for council. So, in no special order, Holly, you're the incumbent. Why did you go first?
Thanks, John. So I'm the incumbent. I've been in on the city council now for almost 2 years, elected in November 2023. I don't know how I got into this. I think it was, I never thought I would be like a politician, so to speak. I kind of think I like solving problems and working with people to resolve issues. So it kind of naturally, as we started working within the party a few years ago, helping support Julie Kushner and Roberto's campaign, I think I got myself into running and really enjoyed it.
You got to think of yourself as a public servant.
I guess I'm definitely a public servant. It's the one meeting a month thing is certainly a myth, but it's been a great run so far. I've lived in Danbury almost 20 years. I grew up in the town next door, lived several other places, and came back to the area. I have two boys. One is a junior at Danbury High, and the other one is a freshman in college. So we just did that drop off. And I work as an attorney in-house in healthcare, so it's a little crazy. Certainly enjoy doing what I can with the Danbury community on that end. And being on the city council has been, you realize how hard it is to get something done, but you also appreciate how much work goes into trying to find the right answer. I've successfully, or at least I think successfully, been on some ad hoc committees. One of them was chairing the joint Danbury Public Schools and City of Danbury ad hoc, which was, I think one of the first efforts in a while. We did have an education liaison, but this was really more of a public getting together between the district and the city to figure out what communication breakdowns were, how to help support each other. We're hoping to pick that up a little bit after, the school year gets rolling. And it's really been a good entry point to working between the school district and the city, which hasn't really happened in a long time. And then the other one that has really consumed a lot of energy lately has been the Marjorie Trail Advisory Committee for the Marjorie Reservoir Trail. Very proud of the work we're doing on this. And, I think that anything that's a walking trail for our community, the health impact, the community impact, just the positive things that can happen from that, I'm optimistic about where that's going to go. So it's a
Very
quick
good
background.
Okay, John, you're up.
Yeah, Holly, I don't know if we're going to throw you in the politician word frame. We're going to call you a second ward advocate. We'll go that way.
There you go. Thank you.
So, John Laughinghouse, I'm also vying for the opportunity to become, an elected second ward advocate. I've kind of been doing that on the side for quite some time. I got involved, I've known Roberto for, an extended period of time. Since middle school, him and I would have conversations. Recently, especially with him kind of being in the public office about Danbury, what we see, the vision of Danbury, what it could be, what it was, and kind of where it is right now. And, I've been graced to continue to have those conversations. So when I say second ward advocate, a lot of my conversations with him kind of surround that in regards to, where we see things, where we see the city, where we see the town, and, what observations I have and where I can kind of push some of those observations for, an implement or a tool for change. I've lived in Danbury my whole entire life. I point to it every time because it's right outside my window and you can see it. But I was born in Danbury Hospital. Me and my wife live in the house that I've lived in since third grade. My father moved away. We basically gutted it and rebuilt it, and we decided to make this our home. I have two wonderful daughters. They go to school here in the second ward at Haystown Avenue School. If anyone's ever seen me speak publicly, um, I speak a lot about Haystown. I speak a lot about my experiences and what I see and how I can bring those to the table and bring them to real life. I currently sit on the Candlewood Lake Authority, so getting some heat in regards to the closing of the islands, which is a new topic that just happened recently. I'm also a Danbury volunteer firefighter, which last October, actually last December, I got my firefighter one, and then I got my firefighter two this spring. So drinking from the fire hose, so to speak, as it relates to the volunteerism, and then I also sit in the Danbury Town Committee. And I would just want to echo, it's about kind of listening to the people in our wards and making sure that they have a voice, and that's ultimately what we're here for, and that's why I'm running for, my second time around.
Right. I just wanted to touch on the budget in the sense that you still hear a little bit when you're out there, and I'm out there from over on one side of town or another. I still hear, oh, our taxes went up. Well, our taxes just covered inflation. All the area towns are much higher. You have anything to say about that, Holly?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard because everyone, you see your tax bill, and obviously anything that is an increase from what you previously paid is frustrating, and we're hearing it knocking on doors. And I think we never want to raise taxes. I mean, we're not here to the money's going back into the city in every way possible. I think that unfortunately in Danbury, it was inevitable. I think Roberto and this city council will catch heat for it just because we're the ones sitting on the bench when it really had to happen. But we need emergency services on the west side of Danbury. We have to build a firehouse. We just opened a brand new school because we had overcrowding and antiquated issues at the high school that we're trying to deal with. And then, people want their roads paved, but they don't want to pay for it. They don't want the temporary fixes that I think used to be the idea in prior, city councils, just to kind of put down patches. Like we're at a point where we have to do full paving and drainage on roads. And it is a difficult decision. I think one of the things that I want people to understand is that this city council and the mayor's office is really looking at ways to make sure that the money isn't being spent, irrationally or irresponsibly. Like we need to, if we have to raise taxes, we got to find every single way to make sure we're not wasting money. And that's really the issue, is that if we have to raise it, we're going to do everything we can to just raise it incrementally, to do to really hit the most impactful things. And we're looking at efficiencies within the city. Like I said, we're having conversations directly with the school district, because I think every time that we'd get to budget season, the school district would come in, and it'd be the first time in a year that we'd seen or talked to them about budgeting. And we can't do that anymore. Like we can't just look at budgets as 4 weeks out of the year every year. We have to start planning better. So yes, I hear it. I certainly don't want to sit on city council and just constantly raise taxes, but I think people do need to understand that the impact of what's we have done to raise them versus what we have to do to make Danbury safer, the roads safer, have better schools for our kids. It's just part of, bringing the community together to build things together. So, we'll do everything we can next budget season to try to rein it in again. But we're not doing this without thinking of the taxpayer. I mean, that's what we're here for.
John, anything you'd like to say on that?
Yeah, Holly said it perfectly in regards to,
Okay.
when, I'll add a couple things. The one thing I would like to point out is just kind of making sure that you're seeing where tax dollars are spent. Budgets are tight, right? Like, so when,
Right.
when cost and things, and I'm talking about family budgets in particular, you have your dollars down to a T, right? And anytime there's a need to increase that or adjust that, and people are going to feel that. And I know, in speaking with Roberto and Holly and other city council members, that they don't take that decision lightly. But we also have a community that is in need of help. And one thing I appreciate from Roberto, and I've had conversations with folks on the other side that have worked with previous Danbury administrations, is the amount of money that he's bringing back to the city of Danbury to help plug into the schools and get things done and get projects done, is something that I've seen as a difference from one administration to the next. So that's a breath of fresh air. And I
Yeah,
know.
I believe the figures were something like 12.5 million the first term, and he got another 13 million for this term.
you know
I mean, you know what I mean. At the end of this, or at the end of the budget period, he got that 13 million, but that hasn't been done in years. You have to go back to Eriquez to find that kind of money, because he takes those trips to Hartford. I'm sorry, John, I cut you
No,
off. Go
no,
ahead.
you're
Yeah.
100% right. And the only other thing I was going to add is, and I remember being at that city council meeting, and there's a council member Britton brought up the question directly to the Republicans that were sitting on the council is, what would you change directly in this budget, and where are you going to take out and give to somewhere else? Because it's essentially what you're doing with budgets is you're taking from one or giving to other, or where are you going to shortchange somebody to, keep things a little bit in. There was no rebuttal, right? It was just, they're arguing for the sake of arguing as opposed to the solutionary point of aspects of things. So, I do feel, and I felt at that time, and I spoke publicly about it, that it is a fair, safe budget. And, unfortunately, there was a little bit of an increase, but we are seeing tax dollars in the community. If you look at the ballparks, I mean, I live so close to Candlewood Lake, just the facelift that's seen, with the boat out front, and now there's flowers and there's a flagpole. Those are little things that the community can see, and they're not big money spenders, but they're ways to spruce up our local community. And I've had people come up to me and appreciate those little small touches. So.
And the other thing I'd like to point out here there was a bond issue that was passed, and there's I forget how much it was, but I hear a rumor that most of it is going to go for the firehouse, and that's not true. A good chunk of it is going for the roads. Holly, do you know how many roads? I've heard different things, but let's say 15 miles of roads are getting done every year, and that is coming out of that bond issue that was paid, which is very low interest rate. Because I found out in talking to Dan Jowdy the other day that the area banks and a couple of insurance companies are basically helping us with that with a lower interest rate. It's usually lower than, like, let's say the mortgage rate. So it might be 2%, might be 3%, but it's not as high as the others. So having better roads, having a new firehouse, which lowers insurance rates on the border, that all goes a long way. So now, Holly, any comments?
Yeah, I mean, it's, it's funny when you see folks feel like, oh, you're bonding something, you're still taking taxpayer dollars. It's a careful game of finding ways to spend as little money as possible to get the biggest impact. I think that the bonding issue is a really smart move. And I'm not saying that because of party lines. I think it's a really smart way, based on the fact that there's so much uncertainty as far as where interest rates are going to go, for us to be able to do something quickly and efficiently for the city of Danbury. And I think, yes, the firehouse, I don't know if people who aren't going to the city council meetings understand how big of an impact that is. I work on the west side of Danbury, and to think about the fact that there's not emergency services that in the time of traffic can really get over here in potentially 12 to 18 minutes or even more, is really frightening for anyone who lives on this side of town. And not just the insurance issues, but that will impact the insurance issues and the savings opportunities for homeowners insurance, et cetera, will impact the entire city, not just the west side. And then the other part of it is that it's the safety issue for the folks over here, and not pulling the responders from the center of town. If something happens on the west side and the center of town at the same time, or downtown, we're really struggling to try to respond to things. So that to me was a no-brainer. To do it as quickly as possible by using the bond was really the right call. And the other thing is the roads. And when we knocked on doors, and John and I would love to see him in city council with us. John and I knocked on doors 2 years ago at this time, and lots of folks talked about roads and wanted to see a change in roads. Not only does that impact their normal driving, but it impacts water runoff, and it impacts damage, it impacts the drainage. So this is a real public infrastructure bill. And I hope people remember that it's not just, oh, we're putting up a firehouse and we're paving roads. This is truly improving the city, and how weather can affect us as well on our roads.
So, and it's something about the bond issue I want to throw in there is that it's like a step. You got like 20 years of bonds that were issued. And as one bond goes out, you get another bond. And if you're getting it at 3%, it might be lower than the one that was at 6% that, was 19 years ago, or what have you. So it's not like you're adding to the debt, John, any comment?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo what Holly said. I mean, there's not a Facebook post that you can go on today, anything publicly. There's not a door that we didn't knock where people weren't concerned about their road and ultimately getting caught up from a paving standpoint. I mean, I mentioned before, I lived in my house since 3rd grade. I think I was in 4th grade the last time that this road got paved. And it's not even one of the worst ones in Danbury, but I know I wouldn't be doing my neighbors right if I didn't advocate for that as well. In regards to response time, go talk to Councilman Bill McAllister, and he educated me on how quick response time is crucial in terms of the early stages of a fire, and ensuring public safety. So I mean, those are all things that we need to consider. And unfortunately, during the past administration, ultimately the can got kicked down the road, and it's okay, we'll do it next year, well, next year never came. So
now it might be better if I go to you rather than do as much talking as I'm. So Holly, could you tell us what the achievement by this administration was as far as the police department? For years, we were talking about increasing the police department, and now it's happened. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of it is, I think, and this is not necessarily against prior administrations, but I think Roberto really not only has a vision and the energy, but he also really communicates with, leadership in those departments, and he talks to police officers and he tries to understand what it is they need. We are really working, meaning, Roberto and the entire city council, are working not only to hire more officers, but to figure out how to better support them. You've seen, a couple grants come in for, the police department for traffic control, for school bus passing enforcement, for gear, for things like that. So not only are we simply just, increasing the town, the city budget to hire more officers, we're doing it in a way that we're bringing in more officers. We're making sure that they are safe. They are properly resourced. And again, it's not something that can happen overnight. But I think that the police department understands right now, and the community, that we're really trying to show, support for the department itself and how to make sure they're properly resourced. But it's an incremental increase. I mean, we've been in office less than 2 years, and I do think if you take a look back and see how much they're able to respond, it's certainly helping.
From other interviews, I've been told it's like approximately 10 policemen have been added. And that brings us back to when Mayor Eric was in office. There was a recommendation to be at roughly this number. So we were under police for a number of years. So that's good, very good that that's been done. Then we've had tremendous improvement in the parks and in the ball fields. Do you have either one of you or both of you have any comments about the feedback you might be getting about? I could actually see as I drive by some improvements that have happened already. So Holly, starting with you.
It always start with me, huh? And I'll just
Well,
keep talking.
You're the incumbent.
Well, and I mean, I certainly, Rogers Park area, I'll start off by saying is one of the places that is really near and dear to our hearts. Both my boys played baseball down there for many, many years, and we spent most of our lives every summer down there, seeing a lot of the improvements down there that, I mean, they were necessary. The batting cage area, things like that. As John mentioned, the down at Town Park is just it probably unnoticeable changes as far as cost, but just kind of a beautifying perspective. It definitely looks a lot more like a welcoming park. And there's other areas that you can tell, the Beaver Street updated basketball court, things like that everywhere that are kind of adding this tone that we do want people outside. We all know that it's great to get folks outside and utilizing our parks. Again, it's been a year and a half, 2 years. There's some additional work that's happening that probably isn't seen yet, but I think we should be really proud of what we've accomplished in 2 years.
Right. And John.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, bringing on, Coach Ratchford, to kind of lead up Parks and Rec was a key hire for the administration of Roberto. I just want to touch base on, the question before in regards to the police. And, one of the things that I've seen is just in regard to the advocacy and getting our officers, and this isn't necessarily on Roberto, but I'll give a shout out to the Danbury police. The ice cream truck, the Copsicles, has gone over well. I had my kids come home and tell me all about it from camp. So it's not only hiring of police officers, but ensuring our police officers are in the community, that they're not strangers. And I think that was one of the things that I appreciated about that. In regards to Parks and Recs, I mean, or the investments in our parks, I think I talked about Candlewood Lake. I mean, my daughter did softball. The new roofs that are put on the pavilion over at Hatters, which is going to lead to more rentals over there, and the sprucing up the community. We went down to Town Park for the fireworks, and just the fact that there was a band and a little bit of a vibe there went over really, really well for the community. So, it's those little things that go a long way with the community that, I just feel like are hitting a home run in regards to how the community sees and embraces each other. And that's what the sense of community is. So.
Yeah. Now, I know the answer to this, but I'm just going to throw it out, and it could be a jump ball. Either one of you can answer this one. The revitalization of the sidewalks, a lot of it has been done, but there's still more to do. Can one or the other of you explain, or maybe both of you have something to say about the redoing the sidewalks downtown?
I mean, I'll start, Holly, and I'll be brief because I know we're up against time. It needed to get done. I mean, is everybody going to be happy with, the ultimately status of how we get there? I think the end project and the end vision is kind of where we're headed. And I'm excited to see it as somebody that, I ride my bike, I ride my, my motorized, skateboard. I want to get out and use flat, surfaces and not worry about tripping hazards and some of the other things that are going on. So, I'm excited about the project and what downtown's eventually going to be.
And Holly, do you have anything to say about the sidewalks? I mean, I heard some flack about the trees coming down, but
yeah, and I mean, I think what, and I'm not exactly an arborist, so I know that there were some folks about that were frustrated about trees coming down. I think that the ultimate goal is to make sure that what's replacing it is better for the longevity of the sidewalks and the beautification of that area. And I just want to say, I think that if we do go on social media, which I don't necessarily recommend when you're in this position, and see all the comments and the criticism that you get every single day, there's been a lot of, ever since I've lived in town, and I know probably as long as John's been in town, there's always comments about what are we doing with our downtown area, and we've been talking about revitalizing it since the beginning of time. Like, how is that going? What are our plans? And I think that it's time. There's a new administration, there's new ideas, there's fresh ideas that have been in now for almost 2 years. We got to start looking at things to start improving how we're going to do business down there, what kind of commercial business we want, how we're going to support folks who live and work down there in downtown. So I think this is kind of a piece, a step along the way. If somebody says, "Oh, we did the sidewalks," and I don't see a change by February, I just want to say, be patient with us. We're trying to figure out a way to make downtown Danbury, something that people talked about for years, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of creativity and a lot of patience. And I think 10 years from now, we'll be talking about downtown Danbury, about how long it took and how much work we put into trying to make that more of a place where people inside and outside of Danbury come. So it's just, I think people see things in the middle of construction and they want to ask why. I think part of it's just, please just trust the process and believe in this town and where we're going with it.
Right. Now, have the two of you gone on a tour of the high school? I know a tour was conducted. I would have liked to go on the tour, but I understand it was members of the council and people that were close. So, John, you may have gone too, right? Or am I wrong?
I was on vacation, so I think Holly got the.
Okay.
I used to work there, so
You got
I know.
left out too, huh?
Yeah, I used to work there, so I'm interested to see what it looks like now. So
Okay.
Well, and I do, I did get to see it. And I know that this has been, and I just want to, make sure people understand that this is something that I think that several administrations and several elected officials really came together to get this to happen. Unfortunately, my son, who's a junior, is not unfortunately, but he'll be at the Danbury, regular Danbury campus. So he's not going to be in that building, but many of his friends are. It's pretty amazing. I think one of the things that we have recognized is that, education is not what it used to be as far as sitting in a classroom and doing textbook curriculum. This is an opportunity to get this accredited and really puts Danbury on the map as far as what's there. The medical technology that's there is unbelievable. Things that we toured colleges all last summer. There are things in that building that we didn't see on college campuses. That these students can come out of high school basically from an EMT training perspective, from med tech, from PT, wind turbine energy efficiency training. It's a whole new universe, and I think the city really should look at the pictures from this and hear from students. It is going to be something to be very proud of.
and just
Very good.
quick, John, I just want to also call out the facelift that the high school got, just the auditorium itself and the science labs as well. So.
And we never got to so I'll make it quick, and that is the 911 is for emergency. If you're calling 911, that's emergency only. 311 is other city questions and problems.
And download the My Danbury app.
Yeah, now both of you, telephone number and an email. If anybody's got questions out there, they can contact you.
Well,
Go
I'll go
ahead.
ahead, I guess, to jump in.
Yeah.
It's my cell number is the same it's always been. It's 203-733-5646. Call me, text me. As far as campaigning email, it's HOLLY 4 Danbury @gmail.com.
Okay, John.
Email wise, John Laughinghouse 11 @gmail.com.
Okay, thank you for coming on the show. And I want to thank the viewers for tuning in. We'll see you next week, same time, same station.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you.